caught us a little. They caught us a little underwear. We jumped out of our underwear to get over here to start the game. Harbaugh will start at quarterback. That, of course, for the Bears, Auzine, Wojciechowski, Fontenot, Thayer, Van Horn, and Blackwell, Kelly Blackwell. The free agent from TCU at tight end, Anderson, Muster, the deep backs, Waddle. Opens as the wide receiver to the left, and Harbaugh will throw it on first down. Under pressure is Harbaugh, and out he comes with some room. First down Bears, first down Harbaugh. Flag on the play, stopped by Jesse Solomon. Here's Harbaugh's scramble, and that's about what you were going to say before the game started.
That's what the Atlanta Falcons were worried about. They were worried about Jim Harbaugh, and Jim Harbaugh's running with the ball. In fact, Jerry Glanville says the biggest worry we have is stopping Jim Harbaugh and not his passing, but taking off, and then on the very first play of the game, he does it. And, of course, you get your defense, boom, they're all fired up in there. You get Jesse Solomon comes and gets that late hit, and they're calling those things this year. You can't do that.
So it's first down, Chicago, a yard shy of midfield. Blackwell, now Jennings, who was not supposed to play, does and goes in motion. Straight ahead is Buster, got 3. Jesse Tuggle made the stop. The Atlanta defense, Green, Gardner, and Gann up front. The G-men, Connor, Tuggle, Solomon, and Tippins, the linebackers. In the secondary, McKyer and Deion Sanders, the cornerbacks, Ray and Donaldson. The deep men, 2nd and 7, is Harbaugh. Leads the Bears in Falcon territory by a yard. Waddle in motion. Anderson on the draw with room. Close to a first. Gain of maybe 6. McKyer on the stop.
This is the way a Mike Ditka team likes to start. You want to establish control of the line of scrimmage. The way to establish control in the line of scrimmage is being able to block at the line and run right at it. You see they got that counter tray. They all block down. They pull the off guard and the off tackle, and they run Neil Anderson in that 6-hole. And I still think Neil Anderson is one of the best backs in this league.
Without a doubt. 3rd and 1. Starting has not been a Bear problem. They've gotten to a good start in almost every game. It's the 4th quarter when things start to fold. Jennings was the man in motion. Outside, Anderson incomplete. Darren Connor.
Yeah, it's interesting on that first pass. It looks like Jim Harbaugh as a passer is a little tight. Mike Ditka said that last Monday night he felt that Harbaugh pressed, that he was so worried and afraid not to make a mistake that he didn't do anything. And he said he wants him to be freewheeling today.
Gardaki back to kick for the Bears. Deion Sanders deep. He can't stand still. They're coming after it. Gardaki over Sanders' head. Bounces into the end zone. They'll start from the 20 when the Atlanta Falcons go on offense. Maurice Douglas tried to knock it back unsuccessfully. Nothing first. Nothing first quarter at Soldier Field, Chicago. Chris Miller, the Atlanta quarterback, running their red gun offense. Ken, Hoover, Dukes, Fralick, and Hinton up front. Good offensive line. The backs and receivers, Jones, Tony Jones, the wide receiver with Drew Hill, Pritchard, and Risen. On the other side, Miller. No tight ends. They have one on their roster, but he doesn't see much action. On first down, Eric Pegram. And the draw play stopped by William Perry, number 72. A little bit different look on defense for the Bears. Up front, the four usual ones: Dent, Perry, McMichael, and Armstrong. Only two linebackers, Singletary and Morrissey. And against this Atlanta offense, 5 defensive backs. Morrissey and Singletary together in the middle. 2nd and 9. Falcons from their own 21. Jones is the setback this time as Miller. Side complete to Tony Jones. Incomplete.
And that's the thing Mike Ditka was talking about. He felt that his defense last week was sitting back on their heels and letting things happen. And specifically, I think he was talking about his secondary, and more specifically, probably this guy, Lemuel Stinson. He felt that he was sitting back there and letting guys catch stuff in front of him. And he said, we can't do that. We're back on our heels. We're waiting for him. We're waiting for him to catch. Boom, we got to go through him. We got to knock him down. We got to come up with tip balls, interceptions, and things like that.
3rd down and 9. They stay in the red gun, but it becomes a shotgun. Miller, incomplete. Broussard was the intended receiver. Marcus Paul put the heat on Miller.
That's the thing, they have those 5 defensive backs in there. One of them is the safety, Marcus Paul. He comes straight up the middle. Miller was on a little roll to the right, rolled right into Marcus Paul. When the pressure comes to the side of the roll, it is very tough on the red gun.
2 men deep for the Bears. Fulhag will punt for Atlanta. Wolford and Waddle back deep for Chicago. Fulhag, the Atlanta punter. Waddle signals fair catch, makes it. At about the Bear 34-yard line, a 45-yard punt for Atlanta by Fulhag. 0-0, first quarter.
45 yards.
CBS Sports coverage of the National Football League is sponsored.
Back at Soldier Field, the Bears out of the huddle in a hurry. 1st and 10, Chicago at their own 34. Waddle in motion. And on Buster. Big hole for Brad Buster into Falcon territory. Well, Mike Ditka said, John, yesterday, we got to get the ball to this guy more.
I tell you, and the thing you can do against Atlanta defense, because they flow, is cut back. Watch the defense flow towards us. Now, when that happens, they're going to pursue to the onside, but look at this cutback. Look at here, this cutback lane. They all flow in here, and boy, do they give you that cutback over there.
Somebody withdrew something from your bank account.
I thought it was awesome. I'd like to put a 1 in front of those numbers. I'd show that thing.
This is Anderson on the cutback. And the counter play, and he's gone. Bears are going to take the lead. Anderson from 49 yards. Buster got 17, and Anderson got the rest.
Buster showed him how to do it. Start one way and cut back the other. Again, the Atlanta defense isn't one that read and keys. They flow. They're going to go right now. They don't beat on a blocker. They want to get a tackler, so you can really take advantage of that by cutting back.
The first rushing touchdown against that Atlanta defense this year. Butler's extra point is good with Harbaugh holding. And the Bears lead it 7-0 with 10. The Bears lead 7-0, a 49-yard touchdown run by Neil Anderson. Gardocki set to kick off. 2 plays, 66 yards. Muster got 17, and then Anderson took it from there. Deion Sanders back deep in the middle, ever pacing. He says he gets tired, no wonder. He's going to handle it at the 9. to the Bears 35, tripped up by the last man, Mark Carrier.
I tell you, he's one of those athletes that is worth the admission. If you talk about someone who is fun to watch play, just Deion Sanders just returning this kick and just always having a feel. You know he has the speed. You know that he's a great athlete and all those things, but what a feel he has. He knows where his guys are and where their guys are. And he stays close to his and away from theirs and almost breaks it.
He was saying yesterday, you asked him the difference between football and baseball. He said, well, you got to be an athlete in both, but in football at least you get 6 days to enjoy it. In baseball, you got to do it the next day again.
And he said the other thing he likes about football, you get more excited when you play it.
Miller back to throw it. Down in the arms of Steve McMichael, a loss of 8.
The Bears are doing one good thing on defense, is they're getting the pressure to the side of the roll. When you use a run and shoot offense, the quarterback is always going to roll a little to the right or a little to the left. And both times the Bears got pressure, it's been to the side that Chris Miller was rolling. Both times it was to the Atlanta Falcon right side.
That brings up 2nd and 18. The Falcons at the Bear 44. First quarter, Bears up 7-0. Ahead to Broussard. Gain of 8. He got back the sack loss.
The Bears have their big rookie Alonzo Spellman in there. He's taking William Perry's place. Now there's a big guy. And they just ran the ball right at him that time. But here's a guy who just turned 21 years old today. Mike Gann of Atlanta was saying yesterday, he said, when that guy learns to play, he's going to be dangerous.
He wears size 18 shoes. He won't topple easily.
Well, that gives you a good foundation.
3rd and 10. Bears showing blitz, and here they come. Miller gets rid of it quickly. Outside to Risen, short of a first down, a gain of 8. Richard Fain, who played with Deion Sanders in high school, made the stop.
And that's who they're going to work on. He's the extra defensive back. He makes a good play here because you let him catch it. They're going to catch him, but you don't give him a first down. In fact, it was this guy here, Richard Fain, who gave Deion Sanders the nickname Primetime. That was in high school. It was after a basketball game. Sanders made some dunks and scored, 30 points or something. And Fain said, hey, your name ought to be Primetime. That's where it all started.
Norm Johnson from 45 yards. The snap goes over Fulhage's head. And he is down by the Bears way deep. Donnell Wolford. A high snap that Fulhage couldn't handle. And the Bears will take over in Falcon territory.
Well, the Bears had all kinds of meetings this week. They were really disappointed in their play Monday night. They wanted to come out and make something happen. Of course, this is just something that Atlanta did poorly, but the Bears are taking advantage when they do something poorly. How about Jerry Glanville? You always picture how a game is going to be, how a game is going to start, and you never picture it starting this way.
Harper LaBelle is the snapper for long kicks for Atlanta, and that snap just went over the head of Fulhage. First down, Bears. Harbaugh, the quarterback, puts Waddle in motion. And gives the ball to Anderson, slips one tackle, but there are a lot more Falcons there. Led by Jesse Tuggle, a loss of 4.
They had to try it again to the right side. That was that same play that Neil Anderson scored on. That was that Redskin counter trade play. That time they counter trade to the left. On the touchdown, they counter trade to the right. Boy, in that touchdown run, there was a heck of a hole over there.
The first guy Anderson saw was the safety man.
Yeah, that was Scott Case, who was playing with a thumb, pins in his thumb, and a bad shoulder and chest, and he wasn't able to make the open field tackle.
He wasn't supposed to even play. Harbaugh again to Anderson. And again, the Falcons are there. Mike Gann led the charge with Epps.
side. You see, here's the side of the overload. The Bears are running into the overload before they ran away from the overload. So you not only have an overload on that side, but you have a stunt on that side. So you only have 3 blockers against 4 defenders. That was a good defensive choice, a poor offensive choice.
Deion Sanders faced by Ron Morris. The Bear offense. The Falcons jump offside. Tim Green.
There's a flag.
Tim Green's not supposed to jump off sides. He's one of those guys that was nominated for a Rhodes Scholarship and so on. It probably will be against Chicago.
Somebody pulled him.
Prior to the snap,
Yep.
number 70 on the offense. 5-yard penalty. It remains 3rd down.
Ozine.
Yeah, that's a rookie, Troy Ozine. So, again, when you see Tim Green, I mean, Tim Green is a good football player, and he's a smart football player. And we usually see him run over like something like that. He saw something that would be against the other team. He wouldn't just jump like that. You wouldn't think.
We know he can count.
Yeah, that's right. And forward, backwards, you know, to the 2nd degree and all that stuff.
3rd down. Harbaugh on the shotgun screen pass. Anderson, blockers in front. Neil Anderson pulls away from everybody and tripped after he got a 1st down inside the 25. The screen got 18. Brian Mitchell tripped him up.
Yeah, I know that, you know, for a while there, Neil Anderson was in Mike Ditka's doghouse, but I've always said, when you talk about everything, blocking, catching, running, Neil Anderson is one of the best running backs in this league. Because he can do that. This guy is a tough guy. He has good moves. He has good speed. And he showed about 4 of those things on that play.
The screen pass had two blockers out in front. There and Fontenot, so many times those blockers don't get blocks. That time they did. 1st down, Bear.
The pure water people are the official water supplier to the Chicago Bears. Since 1888, nothing is quite bigger than the pure, refreshing taste of Hinckley Smith bottled water. The Bears thank ESPN for their sponsorship. Well, ladies and gentlemen, these teams, founder of the Chicago Bears luncheon,
Jerry Glanville talked to us yesterday afternoon at length, and again before the game at length. He's one of those guys you listen because he's entertaining, but just have to sort out what he says.
Well, and the thing, you know, I mean, Jerry Glanville has a lot of this thing, and, you know, leaving tickets and wearing black and doing all that stuff. And sometimes you forget that the guy really is a good football coach.
Right.
And I know that he's upset now because on that last play, the Falcons just had to take time out. And you hate to do that anyway, but they only had 10 men on the field. So, you know, you hate to burn a timeout in the 1st quarter, but sometimes you feel you have to do it. But when you do it with only 10 guys on the field, then that's really, to be honest, that's doing it out of stupidity.
Boy, you couldn't ask for a better day in the Midwest this time of year. Yesterday it rained just about all day, but all that blew out of here.
And there's something about playing a game on a Sunday afternoon with a little breeze in Chicago and Soldier Field, and, you know, the Bears, when they're a good team, I don't think there's a heck of a lot better places to be on a Sunday afternoon.
I couldn't agree with you more. And those Bear fans, I guess they're fans.
Well, they show up every week. I'm not sure about this group here. You know,
They just came from the wedding, I think.
Yeah, you know, they get up and say, well, let's all put on those white dinner jackets and sunglasses and hats and go to the game.
Not sure who got married. This is Mustard. Mustard stopped by Oliver Barnett after a gain of perhaps 10. He's one of those guys who you think you've got him stopped, and all of a sudden he falls for 4.
I know, and the way he runs, he's a long strider, and he's, you know, in about 2 or 3 strides, he'll go 8 or 10 yards, and you think, well, he gained 2 yards, and you look up and it's 8. The Bears have had a lot of success so far running to their right. They haven't had as much success to their left.
First quarter, Houston 7, San Diego.
Wonder how many teams that's true of. How many teams become right-handed and don't know it?
Well, I think, to me, it always has to do with who's playing on that side of the line. I know, when I coached with the Oakland Raiders, we always ran to the left, and it wasn't because Stabler was left-handed or we couldn't think of any more plays, but I had Jim Otto at center, Gene Upshaw at left guard, and Art Shell at left tackle. And they're all in the Hall of Fame. So to run the other way would kind of be stupid, too.
That made you a better coach.
Yeah, but I think that Van Horn, is the experienced right tackle. Tom Thayer is the experienced right guard. They have two young guys playing on the left side.
First down, Bears, at about the Atlanta 13. They lead 7-0 already. Muster again. About the 11, stopped by Tim Green.
I'll tell you one thing, I would keep working that, though. Here's the left side of the line. You see Ozine is a rookie, number 70. Wojo is a left guard. He pulls and makes a play, and they don't get Tim Green blocked. I think if I were the Bears, I'd just keep pounding it in that right side in there until they stopped it.
Why not?
Yeah, I'd just keep mixing it up between Neil Anderson and Brad Muster, and I think they found something over there where they can get some work done.
Muster is the lone setback this time, and Anderson is split wide to the left. Harbaugh. To Waddle, incomplete. Out of the end zone.
Waddle made a heck of a move down there. That was a corner pattern. That's where guys that don't have a lot of speed can really go deep because it's all relative. And Waddle made a move down there in the corner. You're going to watch him come in and make a move in this way and go back, and he comes wide open. And I think that's Deion Sanders who's playing against him. He just runs back. The defensive back stops and lets him get in there behind him.
Timeout, Chicago. That's their first team timeout.
Timeout, Bears.
First quarter score.
They want to talk things over. They lead 7-0. 4 minutes, 56 seconds left first quarter.
Rust. What it can do to the outside of your car. Weak, neglected antifreeze can do to the inside. You need the tough anti-corrosion formula of Prestone. Use fresh Prestone every year to give your radiator and cooling systems heavy-duty rust and corrosion protection. No matter what happens to the outside, Prestone protects the inside. Prestone stops the rust that stops your car.
There are lots of firsts in life where First Interstate Bank just can't help you. But there are firsts where First Interstate can be a big help, like helping you fulfill a dream. Then we'll do everything possible to make it come true. And because there's so many times when no one can help you, when it comes to banking, come to First Interstate Bank, and we'll go out of our way to help you, as long as we can.
This isn't your typical car commercial. There's no beautiful scenery, no winding roads. Hey, there's not even a car. But there is news. Geo is lowering prices on the Metro Coupe, sedan, and the XFI. So now the car that gets the highest gas mileage in America also has one of the lowest prices, which is pretty beautiful, even without pictures. Get to know Geo Metro at your Chevrolet Geo dealers.
A nightmare comes true as a boy and a little girl are trapped on a runaway roller coaster.
We spent a lifetime, about 20 minutes.
2 lives hang in the balance on Rescue 911 Tuesday.
Let's watch that last play. Here's Tom Waddle. Here's Deion Sanders. Who would have thought? You watch. Deion tries to jam him there. It's okay there. Now he takes a peek right there in at the quarterback. When he comes back, he doesn't locate Waddle. Then he doesn't even chase him. He just lets him go.
Harbaugh back time, this time to Anderson. Very close to first down, 8 yards.
And I think Mike Ditka's already decided if it's fourth, he's going to go for it because he's sending Brad Muster in. This is going to be interesting where that ball is spotted.
short.
And the chains are on the other side of the field. They have markers on both sides of the field. But you see that pink thing there? He has to reach that. And again, it's where the ball lands. The ball comes down. I would say it's right on it. If you look right here, right through, that looks like, see, here's the spot. That's where he has to go. But I'll tell you, it looks like it's right on the marker. Now, they didn't spot it on that marker, though. See, it looked like he got it to that marker there.
They've changed their mind. And now Butler's in the game. With Harbaugh holding. Like it's going to be about a 21-yard field goal attempt by Butler.
I think that, you hate to, as an offensive team, you hate to have to do this. Neil Anderson, I'm sure, thinks that he got the first down. It looked like to me that he did. You hate to have to kick a field goal. This is a percentage play, though. You're up by 7. You're at home. This will give you 10. This is a play to do. As a coach, you hate to do it, though.
And you hate to do it in front of your home fans. You know they want you to go. Butler is good. 4 minutes, 21 seconds left first quarter. 10-0 Bears.
But, you do watch film. And last week, Atlanta played against the New Orleans Saints. The Saints got down there just like that, had it 4 downs, and didn't make the play. And they come up with nothing. So I'm sure that that was what they were talking about or thinking about or remembering. There's a special teams coach in there. You can just barely see his head. That was Danny Abramowitz. There you see him there. Remember the wide receiver that they said he couldn't run, he couldn't do anything, but he was a competitor and he could sure catch.
He was like Tom Waddle. He was a guy who wasn't big enough, wasn't fast enough, but he could get open, he could catch it.
And he was a tough guy, too. I remember Danny Abramowitz, besides, catching a lot of passes, he was a real good blocker, and you don't see a lot of good blocking wide receivers, but Danny Abramowitz was one of them.
Well, that's one thing you can say about these Bear wide receivers. They may not be the fastest, they may not be the speed burners, but they all block.
And that was the other thing about the Washington Redskins wide receivers. They're
right.
the other ones. They are all very, very good blockers.
Deion Sanders almost broke the first kickoff, returned it 55 yards. This one they're going to keep away from it. That is Oliver Barnett. He looked like he played some fullback somewhere.
I'll tell you, that's one thing that they were meeting about. We saw Danny Abramowitz talking about what they were meeting about, and they were meeting about not kicking the ball to Deion Sanders. And what they're going to do, that was just Kevin Butler there. He's going to kind of squib kick it, and then he was watching it. And then, boom, here comes a blocker, and you say, hey, I was just watching my kick.
Of 13 yards. The Falcons at first and 10.
Chuck Smith, who was obstructing his view. Don't get in my way.
Yeah, he's a defensive end, Chuck Smith.
This is Tony Smith out of the Atlanta backfield for short yardage. Singletary made the stop.
There's a new shot there where the offensive line coach, one of the real top offensive line coaches, Dick Stanfel, he sits down. Usually they let the players sit down and the coach stands in front of them and draws upside down. Dick Stanfel, you get a little older, you've been in the league for a long time like old Dick has, you sit down. Then you have your players make a nice circle around you.
Seems sensible.
That's the first time I've ever seen it.
What a player he was.
Great guard.
Yep.
He was one of the first guards that could really run.
Here's Chris Miller out of a red gun shotgun. High and picked off by Marcus Paul. Marcus Paul in the Falcon territory. The Bears have it 1st and 10 at their 47.
Yeah, Chris Miller was saying, even in the pregame show, that he felt that last week his hands were tied, that he doesn't have his receivers. He doesn't have Haynes there. Andre Rison, he feels, should be playing in the slot, and he doesn't feel that he understands the body language of his receivers. And it didn't look like it last week, and it doesn't look like it so far today.
From the Atlanta 47.
First and 10 Bears. At the Atlanta 47, they lead it 10-0. Harbaugh got his last-minute instructions and heads for the huddle and out in a hurry.
There you go. Thank you.
Blackwell in motion. That's Mark Green. On that interception, here's what happened.
But what happened is a receiver fell down, and you're going to see that's part of reading and body language and knowing that it rained here yesterday. They didn't have a tarp on the field, and it is going to be a little slick, especially for a team that is used to playing on artificial turf. That was a slot guy. That was Mike Pritchard, who was coming in there trying to make an in cut, and he slipped.
Second down. Hand off to Darren Lewis. Lewis to about the 41. A gain of 3. Jeff Donaldson and Tippins made the stop.
A gain of 3. The Bears will have
The last thing that Mike Ditka told us when we talked to him in the pregame there, he said, the talking's over. He said, we have to go play. And the Bears did a lot of talking this week. They had team meetings. They had team meetings with the coach, team meetings without the coach, special players meeting with the coach, and maybe sometimes it does work.
Tippins was shaken up on the last play. The official wouldn't let him go out.
Richard Dent, who we just saw there, this is his 10th year with the Bears, and said that this week they had the best meeting with Coach Ditka that they ever had, that it wasn't all negative, it wasn't all positive, that it was a good exchange of ideas. That Mike Ditka says, this is some of the things we did, this is some of the things we have to do. The players had some, and after the meeting, they come out with a real good feeling. That was just last Thursday.
Richard Dent really has a lot of personal knowledge about the Atlanta players and the team because he lives part-time in Atlanta. Darren Lewis back with Harbaugh out of the shotgun this time. Waddle the motion man. 3rd and 4. Waddle could be gone. Harbaugh to Waddle, 41 yards.
The Bears said yesterday on Monday night we only threw it to Waddle one time. We have to get it to Waddle more. Here you see a good throw, a good catch, and a heck of a run. He runs right by Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders took a reach there, boom, almost got it.
Well,
that's the second time. Hey, Deion should have looked at that sign.
we're going to waddle into the end zone. Exactly what he did.
Every time I've seen this guy play, every time we've done a Bear game, Tom Waddle has had a big game.
Well, he made the All-Madden team last year. Deservedly so.
If he keeps playing like this, he'll be the captain and the coach of it. I mean, he shouldn't be running by guys like Deion Sanders.
He'll be the captain emeritus.
Yeah.
That's really something.
He shouldn't be running a corner pattern in the end zone and not have Deion Sanders right on him. You say that can't be done. You can't do that. Oh, yeah? Take a look. We just did it.
One guy's got the bandana on his head. The other's got 6 points.
Well, I'll tell you, the other has had a lot of stitches in that head, too. Remember a couple games we did? Every time he'd come off the field, they'd give him smelling salts.
But the next series he was in. That was his 100th career catch, Tom Waddle. 100 he'll remember.
You know, he always looks like he has emptied his tank completely.
Yeah.
It looks like there's not another drop of gas in that tank.
And somebody used all the combs in the locker room.
Yeah. And brushes.
Yeah.
And just left a towel.
Butler again bounces it. Keep it away from Sanders. Keith Jones takes the lateral and returns to about the 30.
You know, Mike Ditka has done some conservative things, but they've turned out well. You know, decide not to go for it on 4th down, kick a field goal. Decide to squib kick it. Don't kick it to Deion Sanders. He squib kicked it, boom, they got an interception and got a score. Came back with another squib kick. So, you know, again, I think that a lot of times you talk about Mike Ditka and you think the fiery Mike Ditka and this and that, and you forget that, believe me, the guy is a very good football coach.
1st and 10 Atlanta. 29, 17-0 Bears. Miller, Risen, touchdown Atlanta. Donnell Wolford just fell down. Miller got the ball there.
That was a heck of a throw by Chris Miller. Andre Rison again was complaining that he's a slot guy playing outside, but he got man on Wolford. It looked to me like Wolford tipped that ball.
Did.
Rison had great concentration. He took that thing off the tip. Sometimes you can move up and down and have complete control, and boom, one strike like that really does quiet the crowd.
Changes the whole complexion not only of the crowd, but the game. What looked like a runaway, and the Falcons got back in it in a hurry. Johnson, 17-7 now on a flag on the play.
He's a fridge guy down there, had a hard time getting
Offsides
up.
on the defense, number 32. It's a 5-yard penalty that will be enforced from the succeeding spot, which is the kickoff.
Stenson is 32.
This will be Miller throwing the ball. Rison was the outside. Andre Rison, the outside wide receiver on the right side. Wolford is guarding him man-to-man. Wolford jumps up, tips the ball with his right hand, but instead of tipping it or knocking it down, he tipped it or knocked it up. The ball went up in the air. Andre Rison stayed with it, caught it, took it into the end zone.
Right at the end, the last 5 yards, it looked like something slipped out of place.
Now, you know, he has a right hand. He has one red glove and one black glove. Here he is right here. He's going to come right here, just running up. Wolford is with him, man for man. He gets a tip about here, and Andre Rison gets the play. Man to man, it's away from trips. It's a backside of the triple formation, triple on the left. Just isolation, man to man. You get the tip and the catch.
And the last 5 yards, what's this?
That's a dance. That's a dance they do. Yeah, they start with it. It's called the drag, where you step with one foot, drag the other. Step, drag, step, drag, step, drag.
I thought it was the achy break.
Yeah, it's a step and drag.
Green downs it in the end zone. McMichael goes to the oxygen.
You know, speaking of dancing, this is Gummy Carr, the defensive backfield coach of the Falcons. Jimmy Carr, he was doing this in the pregame warm-up.
I tell you what, I played with him, with the Cardinals, and he could always dance. The music might have been different.
Well, you know, Jimmy Carr's not a young guy. I mean, Jimmy Carr played a long time ago, but he still looks like he can dance as well as anyone here. He had those moves, didn't you see? He had those legs going, those knees shaking, feet moving.
Anderson right side, picked up by Tuggle. A loss of a yard.
I'll tell you what, I bet you when Tom Waddle caught that pass and ran it into the end zone and ran that corner, I bet old Gummy Carr wasn't dancing like that. Here's Tuggle there. last year he led the league in tackles because, one, he'll make tackles like this. He has a good instinct, good feel, a very smart player, calls all the defenses, and really has a nose for the football. Boom, wherever it goes, he's going to go get it. Doesn't spend a lot of time with blockers. Tries to get away from blockers and to the ball carrier.
That's Buster moving, and Harbaugh will take off with it. Down at about the 21. Scrambled for 2. Solomon made sure he stayed down.
Hey, when we're talking about being able to quiet down the quarterback or the crowd, you sure can when you get a touchdown like that. In fact, you can make grass grow out of the quarterback's ear.
And then things really quiet down. That's the end of the first quarter. With the score, the Bears 17, the Falcons 7.
Every business has its own language.
First part represents the party of the second part. Under subpart B application.
And at U.S. Air, we understand them all.
Another option would be to option the script that they didn't option. That's an option.
Purely option.
It's why we offer business travelers more flights than any other airline.
8 meg of RAM and a 1.2 gigabyte internal hard drive.
Everything we do. How about these megabytes? U.S. Air begins with you.
Mark and my relationship goes way past business. I'm sure in a previous life he and I were twin brothers. Throughout the race, the driver and crew chief communicate. The driver complains about the car or brags about the car. It's the crew chief's job on pit stops to make whatever fixes he can to help the driver's predicament. Everyone has about the same access to equipment and technology, but the people who rub on it the most and think the most of it and think about it the most will end up winning the race.
Catch it! Next Sunday, we got Bears, Vikings, Giants, Raiders. Doubleheader on CBS. This game can break your heart, but I'm a big fan. Come on!
Now, those three have been talking a long time.
What they're telling Fridge to do is bull rush. There's no other way Fridge could rush. I mean, Fridge isn't going to be one of those guys that's going to put a lot of moves on him.
And not a lot of finesse.
Well, I think what they want to do on their stunts they're talking about is get the Fridge, boom, to get that bull rush and get that pile moved back, and then Dent and/or McMichael can come around him.
And he can move most piles.
Fridge gets those short, wide pants. They're all short and wide.
Gentry, the motion man on third down. Harbaugh again. Throws in the direction of Waddle. Chuck Smith put Harbaugh down, and we'll see Gardocki. Bobby Butler put a rush on Harbaugh as well. Sanders goes back deep for Atlanta. Here's Chris Gardocki. He's a one-step kicker, so it'll be difficult to block anything.
And he better get it up in the air. I think Atlanta's probably going to try and get some kind of block, but with this position, Deion Sanders is going to have some running room.
They won't have much a chance in this one. The pressure might have affected him. The ball goes out of bounds about the 45.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the pressure of Atlanta rush that affected him, or the pressure of looking at number 21 down there, I think affected more. I think sometimes you can worry so much about keeping the ball away from someone that you don't do anything.
22-yard punt by Gardocki. Sanders heads back to the sidelines.
And he wanted the ball. I mean, he's upset because he knew that if he got it, he was going to get it in midfield, and he wanted to make something happen, and that's frustrating when you don't get it.
A lot of players don't want it. He wants it. First and 10, Atlanta at the Bear 44. Miller on first down. Drew Hill made the catch, stopped by Wolford.
And Wilford is probably still upset about that Andre Rison touchdown where he tipped the ball and knocked it up in the air, and Rison caught it for a touchdown, and he's going to take it out on the next guy that catches a pass. This is going to be a fun game before it's over. I mean, I think that we're going to have some offense, some defense, some big plays, some special team plays. I think this game's going to have everything.
It's already been a fun game. Pritchard, the motion man. Broussard. He got 6 before he stopped by Armstrong.
You know what the Atlanta Falcons do is they use 4 running backs. They start with Keith Jones. He's kind of the guy who blocks and does everything. Then they have Tony Smith, the rookie. Eric Bigram, he's the guy who runs the draws. And then Broussard, if you know it's not going to be a blocking situation, but you just want a true runner, then they'll get Steve Broussard in there.
Short. And they do not make it. Tony Smith stopped by Armstrong.
That's a short. Get out of the red gun. They put 2 tight ends in there. But I'll tell you what happens if you look right here. Here's the guy. He gets penetration. And you cannot allow penetration on short yardage. Watch 93. Boom, he takes on Hinton, and whap, he gets in the backfield. That was a heck of a play by Trace Armstrong.
He got an assist from Mike Singletary. Fulhaig. Back to kick, and Donnell Wolford, the lone Bear safety. This one should go through the end zone. And they'll bring it back to the 20. 43-yard punt, but subtract 20.
For those who thought full-size luxury car owners were taken for granted, change is in the wind. Introducing the all-new Cadillac Fleetwood Brougham. Totally redesigned to be the quietest Fleetwood ever, the most spacious and the safest, with dual airbags and safety belts that provide supplemental protection for the people closest to you. The 1993 Cadillac Fleetwood Brougham, changing the way you think about American automobiles.
The temperature never drops below Xerex. That's important to remember at a time like this, when it's very dark and very cold. Ah, you did remember Xerex Antifreeze. The temperature never drops below Xerex.
This is the end of Head & Shoulders as you now know it. It's better. Now it gets to 10 times more of the places dandruff starts. To help prevent flakes, new Head & Shoulders. This could be the end of flakes.
Next Sunday in the first game of our doubleheader, many of you will see the Bears and Vikings from the Metrodome, one of Mike Ditka's favorite places to play.
Domes have no place in sport, none. Unfortunately, people waste a lot of money building them. They have no place in sport. That's what they should be used for. Indoor domes should be used for roller rinks.
Since Ditka's comments 5 years ago, this display on skates, this rivalry is heated up. Next Sunday, they go at it again, starting at 12:30 Eastern with the NFL Today, right here on CBS.
One thing you can't beat, Mike Ditka on skates. Or pigeons at Soldier Field in the middle of the field. I wonder if they always go the other way, like get behind the defense all the time, the pigeons, or if they know exactly where to go, or what happens when a guy throws it up. Where do the pigeons go?
If they're smart, they depart. That's Muster, tripped up by Terry Ray. A gain of 7.
And when you talk about the thing that upsets coaches, and I know Jerry Glanville's going to be upset about a couple of things. One is having to take a timeout for only having 10 guys in the field. That'll kill you as a coach. And the other thing, his team has not tackled well in this first half. They have missed an awful lot of tackles. And Jerry Glanville's an old defensive coach, too. In fact, he was a defensive coach, defensive coordinator. That's his background. He still calls all the defenses, and he calls all the offenses, too.
And he still remembers very well when you were coaching some of the things you did. Harbaugh to Keith Jennings. First down, Bears at about their own 44.
They didn't even know if Keith Jennings was going to be able to play. He had a shoulder injury. But isn't it funny how a shoulder can be so tight and you can't even move your arm? But when you're in a game and the adrenaline's going and in the heat of battle, you can reach out, stretch out, and catch a ball like Jennings just did there.
That was a heck of a catch.
Yeah, you know, and probably this morning he wasn't able to even lift his arm up to comb his hair, and he probably won't be able to after the game.
That's Blackwell in motion, reverse coming to Davis with room. Davis taken down by Deion Sanders at the 35-yard line. McKyer with the assist.
I'll tell you who got a pretty good block on that play was Jim Harbaugh, the quarterback. Let's watch out here. Now here you see Deion Sanders is playing man-to-man on the guy who is going to get the reverse. The guy trying to block him was Harbaugh. He jumped right over Harbaugh, chased Wendell Davis all the way across the field, stripped the ball. That's a heck of a defensive play. That was his man-to-man on pass coverage. It was also his man-to-man on the reverse, and he had to jump over a block by the quarterback.
This is Anderson. Sort of sifted his way for a couple. Gardner made the stop. There's Trace Armstrong.
He's still smiling about that short yardage play where he took on Chris Hinton. Chris Hinton, one of the good blockers there, took on him and boom, and knifed through there and stopped that short yardage play.
Steve McMichael next to him. 2nd and 8.
McMichael and Armstrong, of course, play the left side of that defense, and Terry and Dent play the right side.
Anderson split wide to the right this time. Muster alone behind Harbaugh. By Waddle, close to a first. Right now, let's go for an NFL update back to New York.
All right, Pat, at Detroit, where the Lions have an 11-game home winning streak on the line, Reggie Cobb bursts over from a yard out, and Tampa Bay leads the Lions 10-3, 2 minutes to play in the first half. Pat and John?
Those new uniforms seem to have helped the Buccaneers. 17-7 here. The Bears lead Atlanta. First down, Chicago. A bright mid-60 day at Soldier Field. Wind is about 10 miles an hour. Neil Anderson again split wide to the right. Harbaugh to Muster. Another Bear first down inside the 15. Stopped by Solomon. First down, Chicago, as Muster's last lunge got it. There at about the Atlanta 15, Mustard Anderson behind Harbaugh. Waddle was the man in motion, and the handoff is to Anderson. Touchdown, Bears. Anderson's second of the day. From 14 yards out, this time 49 yards the first time. Butler in to try the extra point. Neil Anderson. Last year was a troubled year for him. He had a hamstring that bothered him the entire season. Never really got well. Butler's extra point is good. And the Bears will lead it 24-7 with 7:35 left to play in the first half.
Come on, let me show you where it's at. Come on, let me.
It's a universal truth. Miller Lite's brewed from the start to be the one great-tasting beer that's less filling. It's everything you want a beer to be.
Another unexplained crop formation has been sighted. Looks like there's intelligent life out there, after all.
Sure. Unsure. Sure. Unsure. Sure. Unsure. When dryness really counts, be sure to be dry. Sure Solid has the most effective wetness-fighting ingredient you can buy. For dryness no one can beat. So you're either sure or unsure. Sure. Unsure. Be sure to be dry.
Until now, some thought imported luxury sedans possessed a higher level of engineering. But change is on the horizon. Introducing the 1993 Cadillac Seville STS with the North Star system. At its heart, a 295 horsepower North Star V8. So advanced, its first scheduled tune-up is 100,000 miles. The Cadillac Seville STS with the North Star system. Changing the way you think about American automobiles.
The season premiere.
My birthday tomorrow.
30.
Turn 30.
How does it feel to be 30? You get crow's feet and chicken chin. Your nips start heading south.
Northern Exposure, Monday.
The Bears 24, Atlanta 7. Second quarter with 7:35 left to play. Gardocki tees it up to kick it off. Sanders back deep in the middle. Sanders waving, kick it to me, please. I want it.
He wants it because he wants to make something happen and get these Falcons back in the game.
Well, he's going to have his chance. At about the 3, retreats to the 1. And Sanders shed a couple of Bears, but finally is taken down by Mangum after a 13-yard return. Maurice Douglas as well.
Hey, these Bears are fired up today, and they're running this play, Pat, better than I've seen them do it in a long time. And it's that counter tray where you pull the offside this way, and you take the counter and get in behind them and run to this side. And that hasn't been a Bear play. It hasn't been a big Bear play. The counter. You see the counter by Neil Anderson, then the tray. Look at the blocking in the hole, the missed tackling there, and good running. Combination of good play call, good blocking, good running, poor tackling.
Good block by Van Horn and Blackwell and Thayer on the right. Here's Miller. Caught by Pritchard or Drew Hill. It's Drew Hill.
Yeah, this is one of the things with the run and shoot. 5 possessions, 3 plays or less 5 times is until it really gets in sync. And I believe that this is going to be a much better offense in 3 or 4 weeks than it is right now. But until it gets in sync, that'll happen a lot, where it's 3 plays and out or a quick strike.
The 80-yard drives are hard to come by. As they are for everybody. Here's Miller again. intended receiver. Bounced off his hand.
And of course, you know that you have to catch those, and that's what, Chris Miller is the type of guy that, he doesn't worry about the last one. He just worries about the next one. But I think when they are going to be good is when they get Michael Haynes back as an outside receiver and put Andre Rison back as the slot receiver. And I'm just not saying that down because Drew Hill dropped that pass, and that's a position that Andre Rison would be. But that's where he's been an all-pro, and that's where he belongs.
3rd and 3. Rison on the inside this time. George Thomas was split wide. Incomplete. Rison was the man.
Yep. Everything you said. Rison was playing the slot that time, and he was the guy that he tried to go to, and of course didn't get the first down. But Jerry Glanville said before the game that he was going to start Andre Rison outside, but he was going to play him some inside. If you look, here he is right here. He's a slot guy. He's going to run an option hook right into here. But it's good pass coverage. You see, if the guy plays him outside, he's going to go inside, which he did. But John Mangrum was right on him, and he wasn't that much outside or inside.
Full-A. Good kick. Handled by Waddle. Fair caught by Waddle. And the Bears will take over at their own 28. They lead it 24-7.
Excuse me, the printer on your desk there, it's an HP LaserJet. Why?
Never really thought about it.
Well, look, somebody obviously thought about it. Somebody with a firm commitment to excellence, right?
Probably. Everyone here has an HP LaserJet printer.
And the fact that you don't think about your HP LaserJet kind of proves just how dependable it is, doesn't it?
That's a leading question. Are you an attorney?
Are you?
Yes. This is a law firm.
There you have it from an attorney at a leading law firm. HP LaserJet printers. If it isn't a LaserJet, it's only a laser printer.
Until now, some believed only imported automobiles brought power and precision together. Change is fast approaching. Cadillac's North Star system brings together a 295 horsepower V8 with road sensing suspension and traction control, creating an advanced system greater than the sum of its parts. Cadillac's North Star system, changing the way you think about American automobiles.
Only Delta gives you more flights from over here to over there. Only Delta flies you non-stop to more cities from over here to over there. In fact, only Delta flies you non-stop to more cities in Europe than all these airlines combined. Delta, we love to fly, and it shows the world over.
A subway heist.
3 inches of steel in 92 seconds.
A cop caught in the middle.
90, 91. Get out now.
Deadline on rails. The Hat Squad, Wednesday.
Pat Summerall, John Madden. Back at Soldier Field in Chicago, 24-7. The Bears lead Atlanta. And they have dominated both time of possession-wise and score-wise, and first down-wise.
First and 10 at their 30.
They have it 1st and 10. Mark Green is the deep back. Waddle is the man in motion. And the handoff is to Brad Buster. Tippin tripped him up.
You know, I bet you Tom Waddle feels good now, Pat, to have Deion Sanders covering him man-to-man wherever he goes. And that time Waddle was in motion, and so that's how you can tell who's covering whom. And he goes in motion. Now watch, here he is in motion, and here's Deion Sanders going in motion with him. So that kind of makes Waddle feel good. He looked over and said, there's 21 following me. I'm in the big time now. I'm prime time.
This time McKyer followed Waddle. It's Mustard again, left side. Picked up 4 perhaps. Stopped by Jesse Tuggle.
Hey, this Bear defense is playing well today, as you see them there in the sideline. They're not as good as they were at one time. They're not the dominant defense anymore. And because of that, their offense realizes they have to score more points. In fact, Mike Ditka says their offensive goals this year is to score 28 points a game. But they're still a solid defense. Of course, you see Mike Singletary there, and he's already announced that this is going to be his last year. And some guys you'd worry about that, you know, announcing it and being going to be the last year, but not Mike Singletary, because he only knows how one way to play.
That was Anderson, who had a little bit of daylight, but did get enough, I believe, for a first down, Chicago.
It's that same play again to the right side, and that's that counter, and they've really been making a living out of that play today. Watch them, they're just going to come over to the right. It's out of shotgun this time. They come in a trap, they just pull the off guard. They all get bumped into each other, but they have really, right here, watching Anderson there, he's just going for the first down. He tripped over his own guy, Wojciechowski there, but they are finding a lot of soft spots in that right side of their offense.
Good job by Wojciechowski. First down, Chicago at their own 41. Harbaugh to throw at first. Outside to Dylan Lewis. Lewis near midfield. Stopped by McKyer.
You know, the Atlanta theory of defense, or the Jerry Glanville theory of defense, is get the first guy there just to hold him up. Just get a hand on him. You don't have to make a great tackle. Just hold him up, and then all the other white jerseys or all your other teammates get there as quick as possible. And what's happening in their tackling is that first guy isn't getting a hold up. The Bears are running around and through and over that first tackler there.
2nd and 1. A loss perhaps of 3. Connor made the penetration and the stop.
Yeah, every time they run to the left, they don't seem to do as well. I mean, their touchdowns have been to the right. All the big plays have been to the middle and left. But here, I think it's the right side. Darian Connor there is getting more penetration, and they're a lot better over on that side. If you look, when they run to the left, 9 for 24, 5 for 7 in the middle. So I think you put that together to the right 7 times for 61 yards. And I think that's where they've really done their big damage, their big work is to the right side.
Waddle comes in motion as Harbaugh this time operates from the shotgun. The Falcons blitz. Harbaugh finds Anderson wide open. Anderson hit by Solomon and hit hard from behind by Solomon, but a Bear first down.
Hey, Harbaugh is not going to look to run all the time. Here he's in the shotgun. They have a stunt. They're coming there. He had a pump, and then he saw that guy coming right in his face, and he still stepped into it and threw it to Anderson.
2 minutes left to play in the first half, with the Bears controlling the game right now, 24-7. Both teams have 2 timeouts.
The Battles of October are about to begin on CBS.
A look behind the scenes as sports and science converge, brought to you by AT&T. Auto racing on a super speedway produces speeds approaching 170 miles per hour. Racing after dark was unthinkable until last May, when the Charlotte Motor Speedway debuted a unique mirror-based lighting system. With 1,200 lights using 2 million watts of power, the system illuminates the track from 2 sides, offering sufficient light and eliminating dangerous glare.
Storyboard Express wasn't saving what they'd hoped since leaving AT&T. Party Helpers Catering was having trouble getting faxes through on the first try. So like thousands of other businesses, they've come back to AT&T, and we want you back. Switch now and we'll give you credit for 1 month of long distance. And we'll pay to switch you back if you're not completely satisfied. We want you back. Call 1-800-222-0400.
Dr. Ponce.
Now let's get those tonsils out.
Dr. Ponce.
I like the colors.
your baby.
Little Caesars Cheeser. 2 pizzas with extra cheese, up to 3 toppings, and free crazy bread for $8.98.
Teaser.
Next Saturday, Major League Baseball's regular season winds down, and CBS Sports will have either an important divisional showdown with pennant race ramifications, or if at all the divisions are settled, we'll give you a game involving a team in the playoffs. That starts at 2:30 Eastern with Baseball 92 here on CBS. Right now, it's Football 92 on CBS. The Bears Falcons. Harbaugh to throw it. That's Muster wide open. Muster out of bounds at about the 11 by McKyer.
And Jim Harbaugh really hung in there. He was getting pressured from the backside. If you watch him here, it's a play pass to the right. No one covers Muster. Watch the backside. He feels it coming. Even threw a little jump pass. Knew he was going to take the hit, and he threw a strike to Brad Muster. See the play pass here? You fake there to Anderson. Stand in there. Throw that off your back foot, however. But when a guy's that wide open, no one covers him. You don't have to worry front foot or back foot.
No, you really don't. Just outside the 10. Big day for Muster. Harbaugh timeout. They have 1 left. 1:53 left to play in the first half. 24-7 the Bears lead, trying to add to it.
How much insulation do you have in your attic? 3 inches? 6 inches? Well, the Department of Energy recommends R38 for most American homes, which is equivalent to a foot of Owens Corning pink fiberglass. So grab a ruler and measure your attic insulation. Then get rolling. And get a foothold on your energy bills. For more information, call 1-800-GET-PINK.
Come on, let me show you where it's at.
Oh, baby, come on, let me show you where it's at.
Whoa, 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 let me show you where it's at. Call the light, I like it like that. Come on!
While styles change and rearrange, Miller Lite is brewed from the start to be the one great tasting beer that's less filling. It's everything you want a beer to be. Then, now, and forever.
Come on!
Until now, some thought high maintenance was an unavoidable expense of high performance. Change is in sight. Introducing the North Star system by Cadillac, with a 295 horsepower V8 engine so advanced, its first scheduled tune-up is 100,000 miles. So while others promise the world, Cadillac gives you the equivalent of a trip around it 4 times over. The North Star system by Cadillac, changing the way you think about American automobiles.
Coming up on the NFL Today halftime report, Greg and Terry will have all the scores and highlights from today's NFL action, plus a visit with Pittsburgh rookie head coach Bill Cowher, who's gotten the Steelers off to a 3-0 start. Both the Bears and the Falcons came into this game with 1-2 records. And Jerry Glanville, in talking to him yesterday, felt this was crucial to both teams.
And I think coming out of here 1-3 would be more crucial to the Falcons now, because they're in a tougher division. When you have the 49ers and the New Orleans Saints in your division, and you're looking up at that could be a heavy load all year.
1st and 10. The Bears can make a first down without scoring. And off is fake to Anderson. Harbaugh still has it. So Muster at about the 4, and he dropped it. He was thinking touchdown.
You know, Harbaugh is a lot looser in this second quarter. I thought last Monday night, I thought he was a little tight. I thought in the first quarter he was a little tight. But if you look now, he looks like he's having fun out there. I mean, he's running around, play fake, finding guys, looking, pumping, throwing, doing everything. Even guys drop passes now, and it doesn't bother him. But Jim Harbaugh in this game has loosened up.
He even walks with an air of confidence.
He walks like he's having fun, and that's the way it should be.
2nd down and 10. Harbaugh stops Blackwell. He can throw it again. Touchdown to Wendell Davis. From 11 yards out.
to score more, and have they gone after this Atlanta Falcon defense this first half?
Ditka said, I feel we have to score at least 28 points. He's got 30. Going for 31.
He didn't say 28 and a half. I thought he meant the whole game.
That's what I thought. Extra point. Hit the upright and bounced in. Things are going right. Plays, 70 yards they drove it. 11-yard touchdown pass, Harbaugh to Davis. They kept the ball 4 minutes and 39 seconds.
But you can just see that one of the things that the Bears talked about this week in all those meetings was, having fun again, loosening up. And I think, you can sit up here and you can see that they have loosened up. You can see that they are having fun, especially this guy, Jim Harbaugh. I mean, he is throwing some strikes and some balls in this second quarter that I don't know that he could have done a week ago. That is a sign of joy, among other things. You see what he's going? He's going like this. Come on, bring him on. Let's go. You get down. Come on. That's what he's saying. He pointed over there to Granville. Okay, blitz. Come on, bring the blitz. Let him come.
Gardocki to kick off, and Sanders back deep. Line shot. Gardocki goes out of bounds at about the 1. So they'll bring it out to the 35. The Buccaneers over Detroit at the half.
Yeah, we can talk about goals that the Bears have had, the 28 points, and, have more fun and do all this stuff. One of the other goals that's obvious is don't kick the ball off to Deion Sanders unless you have to.
I can't think of any situation when you have to.
Deion Sanders is getting frustrating because he knows he's the type of player who can help win a game, and the Bears aren't going along with him. They're not letting him do it.
Miller incomplete to Pritchard and bounced.
Oh, look out. I think players are getting closer to officials now and arguing more. And usually they don't take that. Pritchard is saying that he had it, that it didn't touch the ground. I don't know, that's very close. That left hand was there, and I don't know that it did touch the ground. I think that he may have had that left hand between the ground and the ball.
That's one he might be right on. Bears are too fresh. Defensive tackles. Miller, Horizon, out of bounds at about the Bear 48, a gain of 18.
And Deion's old high school teammate Richard Fain had the coverage, and he missed a tackle. He didn't look very good on that play.
Well, Sanders, of course, went to Florida State. Fain went to Florida. One of the reasons he said he went to Florida was he was a good friend of Deion's, but he knew what a great athlete he was, and he didn't want to continue to live in that shadow. Plus, they recruited him. Here's Miller dancing in the pocket, and now out of it, and out of bounds.
An interesting thing, we were talking to Deion Sanders last night, and they're still friends. It always amazes me how players on other teams call each other. In fact, Deion was saying that he left a message on Fain's answering machine. He says, look, he said, I just want to warn you, I was walking by the offensive meeting rooms, and I heard him say that they're going to work on number 24, Fain. He said, I don't know exactly what it means, but they're coming after you, so get a good night's sleep.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Just sleep well. There's a lot of that goes on in this league.
Miller back to throw again. Chased by Armstrong and down by Trace Armstrong. and Tim Ryan.
Well, here's Armstrong here, and he's just going to run. Miller is trying to take time. Armstrong just comes back there and gets here. He's trying to step up. There was no receiver open. He had to hold the ball just a little extra. See, he brought it down there and trying to come up. And I'll tell you why. He had good coverage. Watch downfield. We were talking about Fane there. We were talking about Andre Rison. We were talking about Dion's roommate, teammate, and all that. That's good coverage on Rison, because that's where he was looking. You know, probably the reason that they didn't want to go to the same schools, not only were they best friends in high school and teammates, and Fane gave him the nickname Primetime, but they both play the same position.
That's right.
You know, that's easy to go to a school with your good friend if you play defense and he plays offense. When you play the same position and you know that you gave him the name Primetime and he's better than you are, then you may want to get your hat and take it to another place.
3rd and 11. A minute 21 left in the first half. The Bears up 31-7. Down. Tony Jones made the catch. Now Tony Jones only weighs what did Jerry Glanville say, about 140?
Yeah, he said 139, 140 pounds. He said he's one of the few guys on his team that he gives permission at any time to run out of bounds. He said at 5'7", we got him here 145 pounds. He said he doesn't have to take any hits.
4th and 3. Miller back to throw again. Incomplete. Intended for Pritchard. A little high. And the Bears take over.
And this is very good Bear defense. And it's a Falcon defense, offense that to me is not in sync. I mean, they have really, in this first half, they've dropped about 4 passes. So the first half of the Falcons is drop passes and missed tackles. The first half of the Bears is almost perfect football.
You know, there's a lot of talk around Chicago about if and when Mike Ditka does retire as the head coach, that Singletary would be the next head coach of the Bears.
Well, first of all, I don't know that Mike Ditka is going to retire. I think that's awfully premature. Mike Ditka's a football man. He's been in football all his life. You can only play so much golf. I don't think he's ready to do that. And I'm not sure that Mike Singletary wants to be a football coach the rest of his life.
There are a lot of ifs in that situation. Here's a handoff from Harbaugh to Anderson. And he is finally jammed out of bounds in front of the Atlanta bench by Tuggle.
You see what Anderson did there? You're supposed to get right behind your guard. He gets right behind Tom Thayer. Watch, he grabs him there and pushes him. You always tell your running back, get in the hip pocket of your guard. That time he got in his hip pocket, got his right hand on him, controlled his block by saying, okay, push, now go block.
2nd and 8. Clock stopped with 44 seconds left. The Bears leading 31-7. Harbaugh back to throw it. Screen pass out to Anderson. Room again, knocked out of bounds by Brian Mitchell.
You know, one thing you could tell that was a screen, Pat, because Anderson missed the block. Anderson is a real good blocker. But on a screen pass, what you want to do is fake like you're going to block, then let the guy go by you. Now watch Anderson at the right of the screen here. Now he's going to miss the block. He missed the block to get into this position. And that's how you know it's a screen, because if Neil Anderson is going to block you, he gets you blocked.
There's going to be contact. 3rd and 6. 38 seconds remain in the first half. Harbaugh down by Chuck Smith and Jesse Solomon.
Here's one of the guys that Jerry Glanville really likes, is Jesse Solomon. He says other people said, oh, why do you take him? He's a lot of problems. He said, I've seen nothing except a good football player. Here, that was a coverage sack because Harbaugh had to wait and wait. There was nothing open, and Jesse Solomon got in there from the backside.
Timeout, Atlanta. They want to give Sanders a chance to operate.
Yeah, I would think that they're going to keep the ball away. I mean, they aren't going to let Deion Sanders have the ball with just a few seconds left in the half. Although I wouldn't be surprised somewhere in this game to see Deion Sanders play offense. You know, why not? I mean, baseball, plays baseball. He's going to play baseball next week. Practice football, play football, play defense, return kicks. You know, and why not? Why not try some offense?
Well, you know, John, he's one of those guys you hear so much about, and is quoted so much, that you sort of think, I'm not going to like that guy, but you spend time with him, and you do.
Yeah, here's the schedule. You know, tomorrow he has football meetings. Then Tuesday he has a baseball game, Braves and the Giants. Wednesday, football meetings and practice, and a baseball game. We'll get back to it.
He's going to handle this one. Down quickly, and a flag on the play.
There's something Deion doesn't like about that, but I'll tell you, it's good coverage. He has to talk to the official, then he talks to the Bears a while, and he's going to go over.
Well, you know, he says he's living a dream, and he said to us yesterday, if you're not dreaming, you're not living.
Holding on the receiving team during the return, number 30. 10-yard penalty, half the distance to the goal, first down.
Here's his schedule as you look, as we continue.
Yeah, and Thursday he has the football meetings and practice. That's one thing Jerry Glanville said, that he wouldn't let him miss meetings and practice. He has to do that. Then if he wants to play baseball, okay. But look on Friday, well, he has football meetings, practice, but then in baseball they have a doubleheader. And then next Saturday he just goes to football, and Sunday he plays football against the Packers next week. So,
and then assuming that the Braves make the playoffs, which you assume they win their division, it's all baseball from then on.
And it's no wonder he says he's tired. You know, the first time we said, how you feel? He said, I am really, really tired.
That's the Pritchard, that screen pass that's really a pass, but part of the Atlanta running attack. Stopped by Roper. That's the end of the first half with the score. The Bears 31, Atlanta 7.